It's on my heart to talk about Michael Collins. He was a kid I met in 1976 we'd moved to Bremerton, and I went to Central Kitsap Junior High, 8th grade. God, I remember it was funny because I made all these trumpeters mad because I played first. I was first chair, second trumpet in Connecticut. I'd earned the spot. I didn't want to be first chair. I just, but you got to play the music of whatever you're playing. You got to play the actual song, not this, fill in backup stuff. So I loved it. I really, they made me first trumpet, last chair, which is fine with me, and all those guys, second trumpets, third trumpets, fourth, they were all just pissed at me that I just come waltzing in the middle of the year and, take the spot. But I actually, the band instructor, he took me aside and he, put me through whatever paces, and, he knew I could play trumpet. Anyway, the trumpet, that's a whole nother story. Michael Collins, he was part of that crowd that I joined, when that stoner crowd that I just couldn't do it anymore. Him and Mark Peterson, man, and he lived about 3/4 of a mile away from me. It was through neighborhoods on either side. The Bremerton Swim and Tennis Club. There was a sand pits up behind there, a little bit of woods. It's probably all developed by now. Bremerton is just, totally developed. It's not what I, in my stomping grounds in my youth. And, Michael would drink worse than I did. Smoke pot. We got along great. We were good friends. My high school, why I dropped out, he asked me. I'll get to that. And his mom. Well, number one, his parents were full blown alcoholics, so he could steal alcohol and get away with it. I could every once in a while. We had watered down vodka all the time. That's just like between me and Leslie, I'm sure. And then when David and we it just was like they're probably laughing at us. So he'd show up with that, or his mom would trip out. She had this, what is it, a Scottish Terrier, and it was like that was her baby, man. And she was, I guess she'd gotten in an auto accident, and she was on all these pain meds and drugs, and if you wanted Valium, you just asked Mike, because he could get it for you. And God, man. And so he was as bad as I was. I was a bad alcoholic. I started drinking when I was 14. God, my parents let me and Leslie start smoking when we were 12. We had to be 12 before we could start smoking, but they allowed us. Bought us a carton of cigarettes for Christmas every year. Anyway, that's besides the point. So Michael Collins. God, I remember we went to a concert in Seattle. I think we were seeing Foreigner again. It was like for the 5th time. I got tired. Like, you want to go see Foreigner? No. They're in town again, but no, I don't want to go see Foreigner. And I think one of his friends drove that time. And so we, took the ferry across, drove up, and found a parking spot in this, indoor parking spot. And all of us jump out and we got to pee. And we all, find someplace. And all 4 of them got busted. And I walked away from that. I didn't. They all got a ticket for, urinating in public, and I didn't. Like, he would always walk around with this little, like maybe a, I don't know, 10-inch boom box. It wasn't very big, radio, 8-track player. And he loved playing Tush by ZZ Top, man. That just was like, that was his song, man, Tush. God, we were working at the Pancake House in East Bremerton, and he dropped it in the water, the dishwater, man, just soaked it, unplugged it, pulled it out, put it over by the stove, and just it dried out, and it still worked, man. I just remember Mike. That was like, if Mike was coming, man, that thing was coming along too. He got this ID from this. Mike was a redhead, freckled, blue-eyed, good-looking kid, man. And we're, I don't know, getting to be, actually later, he got this ID. We're in 18, 19, and it was like all worn out and faded, and it really didn't look like him, but they took it. So he could always get us beer, man. It just was like, Mike, he was a bad alcoholic like me. If I come up with any stories, I'll interject them. But, I got sober July of 84. Oh, okay. One story before I get into that. Later on in life, or before Mike, we're probably 20, 21. I'd come back to Bremerton and run into him or something, and he goes, why did you drop out? Because Mike, he did finish high school, as bad as I was, and as bad as he was, he did finish high school, and he goes, why did you drop out? And I'm going, I mean, he looked at me as a friend with love in his heart, and going, and I'm going, you know, at the time it was what I had to do. I Central Kitsap High School. God, I remember when I went to drop out, the secretary behind the desk is going, "You can't drop out." I mean, my dad's standing behind me, man. I'm going, like, really, So anyway, my dad said if I got a job, I could drop out. He kind of understood my situation, I guess, and he was a full-blown alcoholic at the time. So that goes, it says where that is. So I get sober, and I do the things, man. I go to meetings, I get a sponsor, I'm calling my sponsor, I'm working the steps, I'm the Fellowship of AA. If, get a chance, just Google Fellowship of AA and it'll come up in the big book of what it talks about. And that's truly what it was, from the, captains all the way down to the, guys shoveling coal in the burners of that ship. That euphoria when you've survived something, and everybody feels that same thing. And I love that about AA. Didn't find it up here in Sequim. I didn't want what these people had up here. So I get sober and I'm doing all that stuff, and I'm working the steps, and I'm dealing with all this crap, and I'm what your sponsor does is they kind of teach you how to be a sponsor to the next guy coming along. And after a couple years, I'm taking on babies myself. That's what when you sponsor somebody, that's what you call them. They're your baby. And, I'm helping these guys. And, and also I was really good at just helping, other people, man. Like, stuff that I'd gone through, we get together in fellowship and just talk, and, stuff that they'd gone through that I, like when the guy told me that, like, I go, man, I'm just all the time. It wasn't even my sponsor, but I was probably about 6 months sober. I'm going, I'm always thinking about not drinking, man. It's just, God, it's just right there. And he goes, wait, stop. Think about that. Okay. If you're thinking about not drinking, man, I have hope for you, because you don't want to drink, man. If you're thinking about drinking, that's when, we're going to start worrying about you. Or you're going to, you think about drinking, man, you're probably going to go out and drink, as an alcoholic, and I was a good alcoholic, man. I actually pisses me off because I was a textbook alcoholic. I didn't want to be a textbook. I didn't want to be just average. It's good with my laser surgery in my eyes that I was just average. And so, I get some, where I have time, and I know how to work with people. And Mike was always on my heart, man. I'm going, okay, I found it hard to just go up to somebody and go, just kind of like, I want to be your sponsor. I mean, you have to let them come to you. You can't, force that on them. And Mike was the only person in this world that I knew that I could walk up to, and I could do an intervention, whatever. I'm not going to stop anybody drinking, but I could go up there and I could talk to him, and I could talk his language, and I could talk to his heart. And I knew that I could get through to Mike. He might not get sober, man, because if you're not ready, it ain't happening. But let me adjust this just a bit. Anyway, God, I just messed that up. Okay, excuse me just a second, guys. My prop fell through. I'll make that a little bit better. But I knew in my heart that I could reach Mike. So Elena dies in 1991, August of 1991. We come up to Bremerton to Misty's mom's for Thanksgiving. It was kind of cool because her dad got us tickets to see the Seahawks playing the Broncos. And what was kind of funny about it was, living in Southern California, we'd go to the Seahawks when they played the Chargers, and we'd go see, when they played the Raiders. And like 2 weeks before, I don't know who they played, the Raiders or the Chargers. I could look it up actually, but it didn't matter. They played one of them and lost, and then they played, the Raiders and lost. And then we come up and, like they're playing Denver and John Elway. And, I know football. I know John Elway. And, end of the game, last 2 minutes, Denver's got the ball, Seattle's up. Misty is she would have been 6 months pregnant with John Tyler, and come up, first down, the crowd in the Kingdoms, they weren't like they are today yet. And, they get a little loud, and it's, second down, they get a little louder, and then it's hush up between the plays. And then third down, I'm going Misty. Just jump up and down and, just scream. Just, here she is 6 months pregnant. And, third down comes up, man. And the whole place just erupts, how the Seahawks fans do, man. And then, they didn't make the third down, and now it's fourth down. And just, I look over, man, and Misty is just bouncing up and down, man. Her belly, man, screaming. That's what you do at Seahawk game, man. You just sit there and scream when you're a fan. So that was cool that we got to go do that that weekend. So we get up to Bremerton for Thanksgiving. And from Misty's mom's, Mike lived just, a quarter mile away up the hill. And so we go up there, I knock on the door, and I talk to his mom. And she goes, Mike died of alcohol asphyxiation, when you throw up and you're blacked out or whatever, you just had, and he drowned on his own vomit like a year and a half before that. We got to share, I got to tell her, my daughter had just drowned 6 months before, and, kind of, there, if anything else, there's comfort that comes from that. That's the one gift that I can give from Elena is, I can comfort other people, and, people that have gone through that, have comforted me. And so Mike, the alcohol took him, man, and I was too late. It was his time, obviously, and I always kind of like, man, I wish I could have gotten a hold of Mike, man. He was a good enough friend to make that effort, and I wasn't ready until I had the experience of giving what I had gotten, from the people that had what I wanted, to be sober and successful in life, and it allowed me to raise a family, have a career, have a business. I've actually had a couple careers. I'm going to do a video on my career path because it's been interesting, man. Title insurance, a pool man, being a caregiver, man. 53 years old. I never thought that I would, find a new career, and I not only found one, I found one that I excelled in. That's what, wow, man. Like I said in my other video, I'm living life. God bless you all, and many blessings.